We're streamer. Here, do not be afraid. My children.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Culture War. We got a special episode today. It's not necessarily about a core issue. It's we're being joined by Adam Conover.
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna
Thanks for coming in. Rory, what do you do?
I'm a comedian. I've made a couple television shows in the past. Did a True TV show. Did a Netflix show. I'm a stand-up comic. I'm going to be in Charleston, South Carolina this weekend, and you guys invited me to swing by.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
You had what year was that show, Adam Ruins Everything?
It first came out in 2015, I think, and ran until 2019. We did like 4 or 5.
I don't know if I ever streamed this game, but I've
My mom loved your
completed
show.
so much of it.
And I think she watched regularly. I watched a handful, to be honest. I'm not going to.
That's fine.
But you did have one really good one on gun control that I thought was good because you pointed out Reagan
This is the
was the
stream.
start of gun control. And you had probably one of the most, I think, honest portrayals when you had a Black Panther and like a white rural fat guy both being like, yes, guns.
Yeah.
Because we often see this depiction where it's like
Racists
are mad, they lump.
It's the
all
stupid
2A
trick
people
shot
in with,
TikTok things,
all white
but
supremacists
they
or
made it
whatever.
into a
They
Unity
try and
asset
act
flip.
like conservatives are mad that black people have guns, and it's like the 2A guys are not racist. It's a totally different ideology.
Well, yeah, we made the point in that video, though, that those people tend not to defend like black people who are the Philandos Castile case, right, was one of the ones that we talked about. But that's comes.
That actually was a really interesting case too. Because there were a lot of people on the right. For people who don't know, this is the guy got pulled over. I think he was smoking weed. He had a gun. He didn't draw it or anything, but the cop just shot and killed him.
I believe what happened. This is so many years ago, and I've done so many things that like my memory for stuff like this isn't as good as it used to be. But
This really just has been like political
officer,
northern line today.
And which is what you're supposed to do. And the officer shot him, I think, at that point.
Yeah, like he
The
didn't draw it or
hyper-escape
anything.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see the rift between.
He like had it stored in the car properly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a lot of conservatives were like, yeah, well, he shouldn't have been smoking weed. And I'm like, whoa. Like, yes, but you don't die because you're armed. You have a right to keep and bear arms. So that was an interesting contrast. But anyway, that was you got a lot of praise from the pro 2A people because they were like, hey, he's being honest. It's like
I'm gonna probably
pro
clip
2A
up
people,
the
they're not
Scrandle
all going to be
section.
racist, white supremacists, or whatever. But anyway, I digress. I'm curious. Well, I guess I can ask something simple first. Like, what are you currently working on?
Currently,
my
everything I'm
wrist.
doing is like podcast YouTube, right? The like mainstream entertainment industry kind of stopped making the kind of comedy I make, and so YouTube has like replaced television for so many people. It's the #1 streaming app on televisions. Their top format is television sets, and so that's where I've moved all my shit. And so I do kind of similar stuff to what I used to do on cable, doing it on YouTube on a weekly basis. And I'm a touring comic.
Right on. Well, let's jump into the current state of affairs.
Come on, that was so
Second
close.
Trump administration, non-consecutive. What's your take on what is currently happening politically and culturally?
Damn. Yeah, I mean, you're going to disagree. Your audience is going to disagree. That's
the point, right?
It's hard. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to, Tim Pool destroys woke comedian. It's fine. You can start the clip at this point if you're doing
There
your
is the
response
fallacy
videos,
game. I was thinking about getting that.
Yeah, I mean,
That'd be
it
fun for
looks like a
10
pretty
minutes.
clear fascist authoritarian takeover of the U.S. government. It's we got people being thrown into unmarked vans. We got like the destruction of the civil service, which is like a pretty standard authoritarian tactic, like early on in a administration of that type. It's like sort of remains to be seen how far they'll get, and if they'll actually be able to transform in America in the ways that they're trying to. But yeah, it's pretty. My side of America, people are.
Tim
people are
Pool's
a little,
brain has already shut
a little on
down
edge,
ever
a little
since.
frightening to folks.
Okay,
Yeah.
I need to
My
get the
take on
second
that would
one.
be largely because
I've already spent
corporate
6.5
press is lying to
hours
them.
on this.
Largely.
So
And
look
what
at
corporate
the rest
press,
stuff.
there's no corporate press left, hardly.
Well, I would say their viewership is rapidly diminished.
Yeah.
But still, when you look at, there was a Real Clear Politics aggregate polling found that they didn't do it necessarily by demographic. They did it by decade age bracket. So it was like 20 to 29.
I think I have Lawn Mowing
Every age
Simulator.
group except for 70 plus was
And I
pro-
have Euro Truck
was
Simulator, I think.
was a few points above.
Could do that. Okay.
Real Clear Politics did a
Well,
average, and they said that
Jesus, fuck.
every age group in
Except for
America.
70
Actually, wait. Let me pull up my
every-
Steam
every age
library.
group except for 70 plus is pro Trump.
Yeah, let me see if I can try and find it.
And this is contrasting to like all the approval rating stats I've seen have him at like what, like
This is another streamer bait game.
47% and dropping or something like that.
It's
could play
largely
BTD
based on the
5
the older
for
crowd.
Repo,
Just old,
like
that
some people.
seems
What
like the
else we got?
opposite of
American Truck Simulator. This
every
this
stat I've
could
seen
be
in the
pretty
past, but
fun.
I don't
not
like
gonna
follow
lie.
this really closely.
Yeah, I don't know how to find this image because it was a few weeks ago. But let me see if I can try and pull it up and talk at the same time. Which I
VR
probably
stream
can.
might need to happen
But
soon.
I don't actually. Do you want to see if you can try and find it while we
Doom
talk?
Eternal.
Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting here typing.
There's a new
at the
Doom
top of my
out.
mind. Yeah. So what I would say is like the
Fall Guys.
the
is
obvious
fun.
story.
I still love
we,
this game.
we debated this last week live is the Abrego Garcia story.
Yeah.
And
I
so
have the
take that I've typically
golden
seen from liberals
50 times.
is actually I'll use a specific example. The David Pacman subreddit. Pacman, of course, has millions of followers.
Fallout
He
London
gets 100
stream
million views
one.
per month. And
I got Fallout 4. I just never really got too far into it. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I'm sure it's a great game, but I don't know. Never really been too into the Fallout scene.
And his audience on Reddit was saying, this is just a family man who is trying to escape harsh conditions in Central America, who has been effectively disappeared by the Trump administration, which is a gross mischaracterization of what happened. If we were to say that a judge granted Abrego
War
Garcia
Thunder.
withholding of deportation due to Barrios
Yakuza.
18 in
Yeah.
Guatemala
We'll see.
and threats against his life in El Salvador, then the question of due process is
Could do Rocket
he needed to
League,
get
maybe.
a hearing as
Come on.
pertaining to that withholding of
Come on.
deportation. But he did already have two hearings in which he was determined to be an MS-13 gang member. He was pulled over and law enforcement believed him to be human trafficking. He has 2 filings from his wife for beating her. She was filing orders of protection.
This
and
is
so
all
it's
like,
fine if in my view,
true.
the liberal side of things, or the
But, like,
podcasters like
this was-
Pacman, Brian Tyler Cohen, and others
not
are
excusing
going to
domestic
say,
violence.
hey, he was supposed to get
but
a
it's
hearing.
not
Agreed. But it is a gross
pertinent
mischaracterization.
to
So
the
when you mentioned
case
that,
too much. No.
people
This
on the
is
left are on
all
edge. I'm like, yeah, well,
settled,
they
like,
think that a
2019.
guy who lives in Maryland who was working like a regular
The
union
argument's
job or
not
whatever
that he's a
just
good guy.
disappeared
That's
one
what I'm
day,
trying to say.
as opposed to a guy who had gone through several hearings, was arrested with MS-13, had symbols on his hand that law enforcement believe were MS-13 gang tattoos. And so the real question is, what was the error in that deportation? On the right, it's legally called harmless error in that he didn't get a hearing as to the withholding of deportation. However, he wouldn't have got it approved anyway. So the answer now is a formality. It's paperwork. It's a Zoom.
That formality is
and it's
important,
done.
motherfucker.
But people on the left, the liberal side of things, they think that this is a working class family guy who's vanished one night, an American.
That
citizen.
is such a
And I
shit
think it was actually,
mischaracterization
Hassan-
people
of this
don't think he's an
whole.
American
Oh,
citizen.
you
I mean, they're-
fucking
They're up
asshole!
to speed on like
Hassan Piker thought he was from Maryland. Legit, and so
okay.
and we're talking.
Yeah,
it's up to
like
you, but this is like the 7th biggest live streamer in the country. Almost every single day, Hassan gets 50K.
that's
and
not true. He's at 20 or
He
some
actually
shit
said on his stream in
nowadays.
response to the comments I made at the White House, "What do you mean he's not from Maryland? Are you saying he's from D.C.? He's from Maryland." No, he's from El Salvador. He only lived in Maryland for a few years.
Hassan
I mean,
is-
that guy talks for 8 hours a day. Like you can parse any particular
Sure, for sure.
statement, but like
He's also
I mean,
stupid.
to me, everything that you said, first of all, half of it sounds unrelated. Like, he's had past interaction with law enforcement, like domestic violence and stuff like that. To me, that's like neither here nor there. It's like character stuff. I don't really give a shit about like the character of the guy, and I didn't think that was a big part of the story. It was like the fact that he did not,
Is he still in
receive
CCOT?
due process before being, rendered to
Pretty
a
sure,
prison,
right?
like
I
this
haven't-
bizarre prison.
I feel
in
like
El
it would have been
Salvador. Like,
big
that's
news if he
that's
was
the
not.
strange part.
That's
right?
El Salvador's government with an El Salvadoran citizen. That's not our purview.
I mean, he's like sent directly to this like gigantic.
That whole it's out of our
complex.
hands. That
It's,
shit is the
in
dumbest
a-
argument in
in
the
a, like,
fucking
highly
world.
Public way,
It's like,
in a way
yeah, we
where like
sent
the
him here. We
administration,
granted him some kind of
is
thing.
making a show of their refusal to follow the law. It's it's bizarre to witness, and like the sort of narrow legalistic. Oh, he had a hearing. He was da 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 da. It's irrelevant to like the purposeful spectacle of the Trump administration. Sending this guy who they admit they should not have done this, but they're like, we don't give a shit. We're doing it just because we hate guys like this, and we want like even people who are in the country legally to, be afraid and to self-deport. Like it seems like the only justification is purposeful cruelty for doing.
I don't think.
Wait, what the fuck?
Any legal immigrants to self-deport.
Okay, wait a minute. I like. That's what I say.
The guy had a legal status to be in the country.
He did not.
Legally.
It's not true. Withholding of deportation isn't legal status. Withholding of deportation means he was ordered to leave the country. But the U.S. was barred from sending him to El Salvador, specifically because Barrios 18 in Guatemala.
Nah, that's not correct.
So the question.
I think. Let me double check that because we did a reading on withholding of removal. Foreign protection of the U.S. immigration law when a person. Okay, a person granted asylum is protected from being returned to his or her home country and will apply for authorization to work. Withholding removal provides a form of protection that is less certain than asylum, leaving its recipients in a sort of limbo. A person who is granted withholding or removal may never leave the United States without executing that removal order. Cannot petition to bring family members and does not gain a path to citizenship, unlike asylum. When a family seeks withholding or removal together, a judge may grant protection to the parent while denying it to the children, leading to family separation. Does not offer permanent protection if conditions improve. Okay, so Tim is wrong here.
And as to due process was, this is why I think the actual legal standard is called harmless error.
I know.
If he actually got either USCIS interview as to the withholding of deportation, it would have been voided because El Salvador no longer has the crime rate that it did 12 years ago or 10 years ago.
You don't know that. You have to
you still at threat from Barrios 18?
No?
The answer is no. And so then your withholding of deportation is void. We can deport you. The issue is that for deportation of someone like Rego Garcia, he has a home country, El Salvador. He has a withholding to that El Salvador, withholding of deportation because of a gang in another country neighboring El Salvador. We can't deport him to Venezuela. We can't deport him to Mexico. That requires treaties. The U.S. doesn't have those, though we do have a treaty with Venezuela, with El Salvador as it pertains to Tren de Aragua.
But you could deport like Burmese and Vietnamese people to South Sudan.
He had 2 orders of deportation. He conceded in 2019 through his lawyer
that
he
dumb.
was here illegally. Yes,
it's so dumb.
Found to be here,
I'm sorry, I don't have anything else to say because it's so fucking stupid. Especially because, we've been going through this.
Withholding of deportation. There was asylum, and then
there
was
all these fucking shits.
I forgot the third one is. It's
even with arguing with Master Liberty on certain things.
And they denied 2 of them.
I don't want to speak for him, but it seems like
he didn't apply for it.
Agree
in timely manner.
Being fucking
deportation
dumbass here.
to El Salvador was granted because of Barrios 18 in Guatemala. And then the last one was denied because there's no torture provision. The remedy right now would be
he could be sent to
where he gets
South Sudan legally.
To these are executive judges, by the
way.
And they would just say withholding denied. Welcome to El Salvador. You're an El Salvador citizen. I think the real issue is yes, it was an administrative error, shouldn't have happened, but the remedy is a 10-minute Zoom call. If we did that, nothing would change. If he was brought back to the United States,
so do that. So do the remedy
because his withholding would be voided. So,
how is this something that you're certain? I mean, the man was. Did a judge not order the Trump administration not to remove the guy?
I think it was.
Oh my God! I can only get one.
He was granted the withholding.
How does it go from?
He wasn't supposed to be removed. He got caught up
in
the
movements. My hand makes are so minutely different.
A hearing under withholding of deportation.
So is he receiving his due process?
No, I agree. They should do it. I actually asked the secretary why not just send the USCIS guy down.
So why do you think they're doing it?
I think there's 2 potentialities. Trump.
I wonder if they're going to go into the meaning of facilitate.
He doesn't want to look like he's going to be pushed around by the judiciary. But I do agree with you.
Otherwise known as following the law.
No, not necessarily. I mean,
Okay.
the universal. No, actually,
when this guy
universal
had his
injunctions are
TV show, it was
unconstitutional.
like, well, actually,
So there's a concern that
type
President
thing,
will be
and
set
I
by
was like,
Trump
this guy's
adhering
so
to
fucking
universal
annoying.
injunctions pertaining to the Alien Enemies Act or mass deportation, and he's not going to allow that to happen.
Is
So he
this
doesn't want to.
was it this guy or the other guy that was
in the
like
future.
super like
universal
a-
injunctions
extreme
don't exist
dick
anymore in
to
the
wait
Constitution.
staff?
And we've seen some 40% of all injunctions ever issued in this way against Trump and his administration. He's got more.
The other fat blonde British
universal
dudes.
injunctions in the first 4
I don't
months
remember.
than all other presidents ever got individually, and that is.
It's not Adam
I mean, that is
Conover.
unconstitutional. These judges
James
are issuing
Corden?
these mandates which plainly violate.
Yes, that's who
constitutional
it
authority.
is.
So the check.
Jeremy
on that is
Clarkson.
plainly, Trump says no. I'm not going to.
No, Jeremy Clarkson punched
Right. So this is
one
you
of
know,
his like
again this
aides,
is authoritarianism.
staff
It's like
people.
we're-
Authoritarian.
there's a.
Well, I agree. The judges are acting in authority.
because the steak was done
Yeah,
poorly.
I mean, it's like
like,
he you know, as
dumb,
an executive
obviously.
is trying to
But-
destroy the power of the other branches of government by ignoring their authority, by mounting
But they don't
like
have the authority.
aggressive legalistic defenses like the ones that you're making
They
in
don't-
order to like expand the power of the presidency and be able
Judges-
to act with impunity, which
judges
is
don't
part
have
of
the
why
authority
he's
to do
sending
that.
them. Sure. I mean, look, I'm not a legal scholar. Generally, I would have said that presidents, I think, tend to follow judicial orders more than Trump tends to, right?
Let me ask you a question. If
sure.
so
if a
watered
judge
down.
ordered
You can take the
to
harder
shoot a man in
stance
the
on
head,
that.
would that be illegal?
The judge
I'm
wouldn't
using an
order
extreme
that.
example on purpose.
Yeah.
It's obviously no. A judge can't order you to kill somebody. That's
Then
crazy.
you'd appeal
We're not
that and
talking
take it to
about
the,
judge
like a
ordering
higher
killing
court.
somebody.
No,
We're talking about judges in, I think we're up to like
Right?
87 instances, issuing universal mandates across the entire nation.
they're
based
federal
on
judges.
lawsuits of
If
single
federal
individuals.
jurisdiction.
So, what, for example, a recent one was the transgender military ban. Donald Trump issued an executive order saying, DSM-5 mental disorder, you are now going to be inadmissible from the armed forces and will be severed unless you are not showing symptoms. A judge ruled from this point forward, the military under Trump must admit all individuals regardless of any mental disorder.
I gotta say,
The judges only
regardless
admit
of
only
what
people in the
fucking
courtroom, unless it's a class action
what's
lawsuit.
his face did,
Universal
Art
injunctions
Clarkson
are
did.
not constitutional.
Like
Man,
Brown
that-
versus Board
those
of
old
Ed, like,
top
so
tier
when a person
episodes
brings
are
a
fucking
The Board of
lawsuit to
Education
the
is the
government.
country, right?
So a
I get like
person brings a
90% of what
lawsuit to
I
the
know about
government
Britain
about,
from that
to
show.
a judge or the Supreme Court about a law being unconstitutional, and like the ruling should only affect that case. It shouldn't affect
It
like
literally affects the law.
law.
It affects the law.
Uh huh.
So in the issue of lower courts and
Really? I
Universal
disagree,
injunction.
but I like the
lower courts have the
grantor.
authority
but
over the singular
don't know.
individuals
I
in
liked-
the courtroom unless it's a class action. So
I think I like Top
they
Gear
could have made it a
more.
class action. They could have sent out the letters. They could have gotten the signatures and said, we need X amount of transgender military service men and women because we want this to apply to all. Instead, what happened was, and I'll argue this. This is where it encroaches into the authoritarian. The judge said all means all.
In the
That's a
Supreme
quote.
Court, they were like, okay, so we're
This
just going to
created
make it a
huge
class when we
uproar
rule.
because it meant that the
if
military
you're
now
going
had
to
to
try and
enlist
pull this shit.
schizophrenics.
Not on this
That
case,
if
but
someone
in,
showed up
like,
suffering
similar.
from manic depressive disorder and they were paraplegic, they were now under this universal injunction entitled to join the military. But I mean,
They wouldn't pass the
schizophrenic
requirements.
bipolar
Like,
who's suffering delusions is not going to be able to complete basic training.
okay.
Now, perhaps there'd be an argument. As
Did
you're
he have a
saying, if
thought
the
there?
judge only said this stay will apply just to transgender military men and women, but they didn't.
The
ju-
beanie
woman, she said
prevented
it
one
applies
from
to
leaking
everyone.
out.
So Trump said, okay, I'm not
He's like,
even
"Oh,
going to
wait a-
defy that. We're going to appeal it. He
Fucking
didn't
hate
even
Tim
ignore the
Pool, man.
order. They went to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS,
You think Trump even knows any of this was happening?
probably not.
Like,
Well, I mean, like,
I don't think he's
I'd
like.
say he probably knew it was happening, but I don't think he had a hand in the day-to-day operations of it.
Uh huh. I
And
mean,
that's true for any boss.
yeah, it's just funny that we go, oh, Trump said this, Trump said that. Trump, I mean, he certainly hates trans people, but I don't think he's like, and doesn't want them in the military, but I don't think he's like following the day to day of the case.
I agree.
right?
I agree.
He's like, doing loop-de-loops out on the golf course. But like,
Maybe I need to turn my
the
sense down.
legalistic points that you're making to me, it's all a fig leaf for like the the larger thing that he's doing, which is
Get a little more,
bending the law in these bizarre ways.
sauce.
What is the point of
I feel like that's too much sauce.
sending people to El Salvador, right? To like this prison in El Salvador. Part of the reason to send him there, to send Abrego Garcia there as quickly as possible, is it just shields him from the rest of the legal system, right? It makes it harder to get him back, right? If
Moving this back
send
to
his-
100.
He's El Salvadoran.
Just
but
we're just gonna go till it
he's,
works.
He's entitled to due process as someone who's in America, right? If you shove people into this like hole in another country as quickly as possible, it gives you plausible deniability. I don't really give a shit about the various again legalistic like little nuances of the ruling. The important part to me is Trump saying, being under an order to bring the guy back and saying, I can't because the president of El Salvador, my best friend, says he won't return him, right?
yeah, that's clearly stupid.
Saying El Salvador is basically a client state of the Trump administration at this point. He'll do whatever he wants. Like, Bukele will suck his dick. Like, it doesn't matter.
Want something in return?
Yeah, sure. What
Money,
give him-
$6
give him-
million,
like,
right?
They're
Trump doesn't wanna give him
friends. Yeah.
So
It's a fig leaf, right? It's like it's in order to the reason to do it is to just make it more difficult to do the right thing.
I suppose the issue is when Abrego Garcia got deported, the administration right out was like, this is an administrative error. It was an oversight on the withholding of deportation. The Supreme Court ultimately ruled that Trump must facilitate his return. And now the political debate is, what does facilitate
And that's
mean? The Supreme Court hasn't clarified, which they definitely need to do.
Everyone knows what
The left argument
facilitate
means. Literally
means.
bring him back. And
It
the right
means
says, no,
provide
it means
all the
provide him means
requisite-
to return should he be able.
like
And then
things
I say, okay, the Supreme
that are
Court can
required
literally
to
just
get
come
him
out right
back.
now and issue like a writ and be like, no, we mean go and negotiate. However, the other challenge is Supreme Court also stated that no one can direct the executive branch to conduct foreign policy. So this would mean that
foreign
Donald
policy.
Trump could
This
get him
is-
back in the sense that
Is
he could negotiate
immigration
simple
considered
terms very
foreign
easily.
policy?
He could literally say to Bukele, listen,
Like it's
you're going to release the guy from prison.
falls under domestic.
You're going to do it.
But-
If you want to keep working with us, if you want our money, you're going to do it. And then we're going to bring him back.
It's like a hybrid.
Bukele would begrudgingly say yes, probably. There is the concern that Bukele would say,
Okay.
I win my presidency on going after MS-13. You've got to give a concession publicly in some way so that it looks like, but you're not going to look. If you shrug or not, the issue is, are we going to direct the executive branch through the judiciary to conduct foreign policy? And you can't do that. So I agree. Trump.
I don't know. Would you
here's what's
call
happened right now?
like a
The executive courts,
deportation
their immigration
thing
courts,
foreign
should conduct
policy?
a Zoom meeting with Abrego Garcia, and we're done. It's over. That's his due process.
I don't
He's an El Salvadoran citizen in El Salvador who was imprisoned by El Salvador.
But you have to
My point is
go through the case to say, okay, it's now safe for him to go
there's any
to
number
El
of things
Salvador.
that they could do. There's some things that both of us agree that they should do. There's more things that I think they should do than you do, but et cetera. The point is, they are
Hell.
like loudly and proudly not doing any of that.
I
Deporting a guy they
suppose.
know shouldn't be deported.
But like a deportation.
Being-
Hold on,
the
that's not true in any
deportation
media.
policy is
The media-
domestic.
The full
The
reporting that we get across the
treaty
board from the New York
they
Times,
have
CNN,
is foreign
Fox News was,
policy.
he was accidentally deported
That's
without.
it's a
any
gray
condition or
area.
withholding. So it wasn't an intentional. We're
Definitely,
going to get this
but-
guy and get him out. It was a crap.
in the sense
So
that
when
it's
Trump is,
domestic
like,
policy
holding
that
up
affects
photos of
foreign
his tattoos
countries.
with like MS-13 on it, and like they're giving press conferences about he beat his wife. They're doing character, assassination on the guy. Like all of that is accidental.
No, that's
like,
a political attack against Democrats.
Yeah, right.
It-
So
what-
and so here, let me just get to the end of my point, okay? Is that, they turn it into a political attack because they are acting lawlessly. They're proud to be acting lawlessly. The point is to demonstrate on this issue we will act lawlessly. You're not safe if you are, even under the protection of a court order in this country, and you should be frightened and you should leave. It's just like it's an authoritarian attack against immigrants directly, and it's designed. It's a leverage of the. It's a leverage.
like I'm getting
of the
dumber
state
playing
to
this.
try to frighten
And listening to
immigrants
Tim
and
Pool?
other
Oh my
groups.
God.
Not only illegal immigrants. Okay, so let's talk about the students who have been detained and deported. Right, these are people who are under student visas.
Content
right?
hell.
They appear at a protest.
I got one.
And they're thrown into vans. They're held in these bizarre facilities.
You need to get both.
There's
Why are
multiple
they
cases.
If you want to say that,
So the point of this is to frighten people at universities, pro-Palestinian protesters,
Because
and
that's the trick
protester on the
shot.
left, of course, and immigrants of all types, including those who are here on legal immigrant visas. Like the details of the individual cases don't matter.
I've gotten
They
nearly
creating a
every other
firestorm
one
around someone who is here legally, creating a
I would
huge
like to say
controversy about that.
I haven't
And
sunk
that's
enough time
we
into
don't
this.
give a
We're
fuck.
coming up on
We're
hour
gonna do whatever we
7 of
want to
this.
these
That's not
people
illegal.
because we want you to be afraid, right?
But it's not-
and that
I graduated
to me
college
that's an
before I
expression of,
finished
like,
this.
pure authoritarianism. It's a leveraging of state power to frighten undergroups in society that these people don't like. It's like very straightforward. We can mount as many legal defenses as we want of it and say, blah blah blah, according to this statute or that statute. But the actual action is just designed to frighten people Trump doesn't like, and it's bizarre to see him do it.
Let's say yes, but none of that's illegal. That's all actually codified law
Not-
that they're allowed to do.
Not everything
Yeah,
comes
sure,
down to a
it's
legal
fucking
argument.
bullshit.
Sometimes shit
It
can
sucks.
just be
It's
bad, even if it's
bad for the country. It's bad for the American spirit.
We can talk about a lot of bad
Yo,
things that every
this is
administration's
getting
done in the
scary.
past that liberals and Democrats have covered up or participated in or didn't argue against.
Yeah,
So
I guess why. I mean, we're talking
feels
about this one
disingenuous.
currently.
It
It feels
seems-
disingenuous to talk about one thing the Trump administration is doing because Democrats have done bad things too.
Well, like, for instance, Donald Trump, through Marco Rubio specifically, revoking student visas, saying that these individuals represent a threat to our national security by adhering to our enemies. And
Adhering
literally,
to-
that's what they're
Shut
claiming.
the
I think it's
fuck
ridiculous
up.
to claim that a student who's anti-Israel is working with Hamas. That's silly. But that's the argument he's making, and under the INA, he has the authority to do it.
It's not
So
about
you
whether or
say,
not he
okay,
has the
well, when people
authority.
come in here
It's
on
about
student
should
visas, They
he.
do sign agreements saying they won't do certain things.
And
They do it,
even in
they
the
don't kick out.
Vietnam
Okay
War,
with you
they
because
didn't
it's
do this
narrowly
shit.
legal under Marco
This wasn't even
Rubio's,
like a talking
purview.
I would
point.
say it's what's fine with me.
I
is
looked for
the revocation
cases.
of a visa for someone who's not a citizen who's here conditionally.
If you
Hamid
have
Khalil,
one,
who was on a
like,
conditional temporary
let me
visa,
know, but this
so
just doesn't-
revoked, I just say well,
This
it's a
never
conditional
happened.
visa.
And we were
I
actually
don't go to
fighting
school
in
and spit on the
Vietnam.
ground. I'll get caned.
So sorry. You think what's happened to those students is like that's okay with you? Not legally. I'm talking about like as an event that occurred in the country. You're like, oh, it's good that happened. It's okay with me. You think it's moral. You think it's right. You think it's just. I'm not talking about legally. I'm talking about like you say you don't
60%?
60%.
Yeah, like nothing's so easily black and white.
Rebecca Osterk,
Shut
who,
the
she wrote
fuck
an
up.
op-ed.
Take the
Like,
strong
only
stance
thing
and
that anybody
fuck off.
has even claimed that she's done is she wrote an extremely mild op-ed in her campus newspaper asking that the college like sort of consider being supportive of the Palestinian cause in some vaguely defined way.
Yeah.
Her visa's revoked. We've all seen the video, right? People come and like grab her and literally put her into a vehicle.
was arrested.
They're wearing masks, right? I mean, she's stopped in an alarming way on the street, right?
It's not like they filmed that and published that footage, though. That was security camera.
No, it just happened to be
Yeah, but
right
they
under a
did it enough
security
that
camera.
Hey, if you
Or
want
on a university.
a student, like a young woman, there's other ways to arrest them than have 6 people show up wearing masks, surround her in a pincer formation. Like it's designed to create terror. So like what
They don't have to do
what's
it that way.
what?
Agreed.
Okay, great.
They didn't have, and Biden's DOJ didn't need to show up at Roger Stone's house at 4 in the morning.
Sure, and you know what? If you want to bring up another example, I'll say I condemn that as well.
Agreed,
If,
and
if that'll
We're-
keep
but
us
we're
on
in
this topic
agreement.
for a second.
We've had numerous instances across administrations that have acted similarly.
Okay, so
Bro,
so let's
no,
say
a young
Rebecca
woman
Osterk.
at
Why do
a
you
college
think
campus
that,
is diff-
like, what
getting
was the
black
administration's
bagged
purpose, not the
versus
legal argument
showing
for
up
whether they
early.
can do it or not.
What?
What? Yeah. Okay. So you.
It's literal Israel, and it's absurd that they'd argue. They're what they're doing when it comes to these students is they're saying they're a threat to our national security, and that's it's.
Do you think
Bullshit.
she was a threat to the national security?
It's technically the truth, which is the best kind of the truth, in that, yes, opposing U.S. alliance with Israel is bad. Rallying in any meaningful way students to oppose Israel is bad for the U.S. foreign policy. But come on. You know what I mean? Like, a woman writing an op-ed that's not from here is nothing compared to the people from here writing the same op-eds. What they're doing is they're basically saying I agree with you in that they're saying, do not do these things or we will deport you. We will find the thinnest of hairs of a reason to revoke your visa if you come out against us. I'm not completely in disagreement. So the reason why I say 60% when you asked me if I thought it was morally right is because obviously they don't need 6 guys swarming her in a pincer formation. One guy could have knocked on her door and said, ma'am, your visa has been revoked. I'm going to need you to come with me. We've got a black SUV you can sit in. We're going to deal with this in a rather kind of boring way. They didn't need to do that. The claim about a threat to our national security is grossly overestimated. The claim that these people have adhered to Hamas is grossly overestimated. That being said, it is still completely legal in that an individual who comes here on a conditional visa
the
not violate
question.
the conditions of that visa.
You
Sure,
fucking
So it's a
dick.
It's legal. No. But dude, I'm asking you, like, do you think it's good for America that like college students who are here on a student visa because of political speech are being thrown into vans and having legal things be done? Sure, it's narrowly legal, but like,
torture.
they're being
sent home.
She's being put in a prison, and then she's being like forcibly deported. Do you think that's good for America? Like, this is okay. So
Marginally.
Marginally.
What do you
Why?
think is good, even marginally? Like, what's the minor small benefit to America?
Do not come to our country and rally against it and its interests.
Rally against it's
I
a
find this too.
op-ed.
So what is the U.S. interest that her writing an op-ed?
Suez Canal.
The Suez Canal?
Right. The United States, the reason why the U.S. is so... I love these Jews people that are like, Israel controls the foreign policy. Oh, shut up. The U.S. interest with Israel, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia has a lot to do with like the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. This is why Donald Trump is obsessed with Panama and Greenland. He
Oh
wants to
my
control the global
god!
trade routes. This is what
Yeah,
America's
it's
largely done.
so.
That's why I say it's a gross mischaracterization to claim that an op-ed is a threat to national security, in that it is in the smallest of senses.
No, it's
students coming here and telling us to oppose our support with Israel puts us at risk in terms of the sentiment
The
of
Suez
other generation
Canal.
as to whether or not
That's
we'll fund
like what?
Israel and control the Suez
Okay,
Canal.
Houthis?
But I asked you if you thought it was good to deport her.
I said marginally. Right,
because we have national interests in the Suez Canal.
We
and
have
that's the
national
op-ed.
interest in
interest.
students
Okay, so
wanting to
what-
come
so
here.
Why do you think it was good to deport her?
Asserting
An
US
op-ed
sovereignty.
that
Do not
no
come
one's
to our
gonna
country
fucking
and tell us
read.
what to do. You've got a condition of your visa.
Shit.
You're a guest in this
So-
country.
okay.
Adhere to the agreements we have.
So you think that America
But you
should
could
be a country
construe
where
anything
if you
as
come
being
here on a
against U.S.
student
foreign
visa, you're paying
policy.
into our university system, you're coming here for the reasons that
And that changes
completely
just
legally,
like day by day,
inviting
year
you to
by
come,
year.
right? This
Fucking hell.
This is why.
Why-
America is the country it is, partially.
I don't know
because
how
people like
Tim-
this have come
well,
for-
actually,
for
'cause
decades. If you express a political
He's either
opinion that is,
willingly
like, mildly at odds with a
being
U.S. interest
dense,
in another
or
country
is
of a
just
canal,
stupid. I think Tim
that
might
you
be
should
on the more
deported.
willing
You
to
think
be
America
dense.
should be the kind of country where
Like
if
with
somebody
him
comes
getting
here,
paid by Russia
they write
shit.
an op-ed that says literally anything about U.S. foreign policy, they should be deported. So
Should be is different
going
from
forward.
could
So
be.
going forward, literally everyone in the world
should be
should
is different
know
from could be.
if you are on foot on U.S. soil, you should not say anything in public about U.S. national priorities of any kind, or else you could be deported. You think it's good to have a country where that's the understanding?
All right. So you're saying that
This is what I'm trying to
Right.
drill down to.
the individuals who come to this country and apply for student visas have made that agreement already. So while I would argue,
Bro, I
the
was
deportation
on a
of
student
Romisa
visa to go to the
is
fucking
the
UK.
thinnest of hairs. Mahmoud Khalil makes more
think.
sense. I mean,
I don't
he
even know what
organized
kind of
and helped
visa it was.
lead
I didn't even
protests
think
that
about
resulted
it.
in damage,
Because I
occupations
knew
of buildings,
that even when I
several,
said,
staff at the
yeah, the
university-
Falklands was
let's say on
crazy.
Mesa, 'cause then we don't
Or
split
not
it.
actually. The Falklands was whatever.
The issue is
But
do not come to our country.
I
and
criticized
tell us
the
what to do.
UK. I
That's it. If
criticized
you were
some
here as a
shit they
guest of
did
this nation,
while in the
you
UK
do not start
in front of
rallying its
people.
in
And
opposition to
it never
the will of
went
the
through my
voters
head
and
that
what the
they'd be like,
government's
get the
doing.
fuck out of this country.
I mean, I really thought the point of America.
They just laughed
was,
and were like, yeah,
you
that's some
know,
wild
freedom of
shit.
speech was like a main
Like-
value here. That I think that's why people come here. It's why I like living here, because I always felt that, hey, I can express an opinion especially about U.S. foreign policy, and not have anything happen to me. So that's a right that only citizens have, and you think America should be a country where, if you are not literally an American citizen, if you express any opinion about U.S. foreign policy, I mean, and we both agree the opinion she expressed was pretty mild. It wasn't like a very inflammatory opinion, right? It was like, it's pretty mainstream political opinion to have. It conflicts with U.S. interests about the Suez Canal. I still don't really understand that point, but let's just say that it does. It does. That should be grounds for being
if it talks about
forcibly
Palestine,
removed from the
it's
country.
not.
And like, whether or not it's legally the case that we could do that, do you think it's good?
Well, I mean, we can watch that
good
too.
to have a country where things like that happen? You think a thriving country is one where people come into the country, they write an op-ed for the paper of the organization of which they're a member. She's paying tuition to go to this school, and she's working for the student newspaper or whatever. She's writing an op-ed. She's probably not employed there, but she's writing for the student newspaper, and that is grounds to be deported. And
it always was. I mean, so my attitude.
Do you think that's the kind of country America is?
Always has been. That's why
That has never been enforced. Maybe in like
the
War of 1812 or some shit. I'm sure you can find
has
something.
multiple provisions.
But like even during the
that
Vietnam
outright say
War,
this is the case.
it's not.
And so that's why I say it's marginally good, because the
think for
issue
most
is
people-
the U.S. asserting its sovereignty and saying, as a guest in this nation, we ask you not do certain things.
We ask
then
you
they say-
don't write we ask you don't write mildly worded op-eds
You don't voice your
about US
opinion.
foreign policy vis-a-vis a different country's
Let's
war.
not load it. Let's not load it. Let's say, do not speak out against our foreign policy.
So okay, great. So America is a country where, if you, in your view, if you are a foreign national, you are here on a student visa, you've been invited to the
You've asked me
country,
this like 4 times.
you
I said the
should
same thing
not.
every time.
Okay. I just want to. It's fair. To me, it's a.
You imagine if
to me,
Biden,
it's a very baffling position.
what these guys would say
Listen,
if Biden
you're
deported
arguing that
somebody
I
because
should-
they were
I should
arguing,
call for
a
illegal
student
activities.
was
Let me-
arguing for Russia.
Let me phrase it this way. My attitude is,
He would
Congress has passed a law.
like.
It was passed in the House and the Senate, signed by the president, and upheld by the courts.
He might even
This
take
law
off his
states
beanie.
it is
He
the
was so
purview of the
upset.
Secretary of State to make the decisions as
Melted
to whether or
off.
not these visas
Yeah.
can stand for a variety of reasons. I say it is marginally good. Her opinion was mild, and I don't think it. I think it's silly to claim that she's adhering to Hamas because an anti-Israel position. My point is, for the government to assert its authority under the law as codified by Congress, the president, and the courts is marginally good. Marginally is, I said 60% maybe. If I was president, I wouldn't do it. But the idea that our country asserts its authority to say, you are guests in this country and we will make the determination whether you can stay or not, is a normal process. And to argue that the government should not assert its authority when it feels it should,
Exactly.
I think
It's about the
silly.
principle of it.
There's a world we want to live in, and then there's
And they wouldn't even.
people have a right to keep and bear
They
nuclear
wouldn't
weapons.
say it's legal.
Founding
They'd
fathers
find
were clear in their intent
anything.
on the right to bear arms, which included privateers with grape shot. Now we've changed that and said only large corporations that the government approves of can have nuclear weapons. Agreed. Nobody should have nuclear weapons. My point is that if you want to change the law, you have to do it through the constitutional process, and that adhering to that
Law
is
also
typically a
changes
good
with
thing.
what's enforced and what's not
I don't know how we got on
enforced.
nuclear weapons.
It's a point about process of law.
Yeah, but
And
I
saying
think
the
it's
government has a right to do
marginally
something.
good
So if they
that
choose
you
to
get
do it,
arrested for
okay.
going
If you have a
1
problem
mile
with
and
it,
over in the
Congress
speed
should
limit
repeal those,
because it's
specifically
legal.
amend
You're
the INA to remove
over
those
the
provisions.
speed
It
limit.
is completely legal under the United States at the will of the American people that this happen. You don't like that it's happening now, but this was the will of the voters and Congress, and it's been law for like 50 years.
The will of the
Dude,
voters
when-
was not about student
just because
visas.
something is legal doesn't mean it's right.
Correct.
Right?
We should change it then. So my point is, upholding the law is marginally good. Sometimes the law is bad,
God,
and that's why it's not.
you see how
always
far
good.
back they have
In
to
this
peel?
regard,
So what you're
to
saying
cover
simply the
Trump's
fact that
micro-
Marco
like-
Rubio exercised his legal authority to do something was good. It's like he had the legal authority to do it. He could have enforced this law as he saw it on anybody. He could have enforced it on a comedian, right? Who's in
He
town and goes on stage and says, "Hey, you know what? I disagree with this or that." Or, "Hey, I just did shows in
Canada, are you?
I just did what?
You're not from Canada.
No, but I just did shows in the UK and Amsterdam, and I made fun of UK politics, made fun of American politics.
You wouldn't
made
dare make fun of
Amsterdam.
Islam, though. Go to the UK and mock Islam. Do it.
Well, I don't
not?
have any jokes about Islam.
Why not? They got Pakistani grooming games for raping little girls. Why won't you go to
It's
the
not
UK?
funny.
Why won't you go to the UK and make jokes about Islam?
That's like
I don't think
serious
it's very
shit.
funny. I don't have any jokes about it. I'm so confused. Dude.
Okay, let me help unconfuse you.
Can
Are there jokes that can be made about Islam? Yes or no?
wait,
I
I don't
know.
want
Yes or
to.
no?
I don't. wanna
They
be
need
scared
it
of that.
because
no,
I mean they
You're
are
a
like
hypocrite.
people like Tim Pool are Islamophobic,
Are
and
there
they
jokes you
need
can
to
make about
push the
Islam?
rhetoric,
Muhammad
like
banged a little
the
girl, right?
like the George
I'm really baffled.
Bush like
Oh,
George
no,
Bush
no, no,
Jr.
I'm
era
horrified
shit.
of the subject. I'm not.
They're
No,
still
I'm not.
hanging on
In
to
the
that.
UK, you can be jailed for making jokes about Islam or even bring up the grooming gangs. There are people who go online and pointed out that a stabbing was carried out by a Muslim, and they got arrested for it. I'll bet you $1,000 you will not go to the UK and make a joke about any of that stuff, because you will not go to a foreign country and, in violation of their laws, speak out against what they've said not to speak out against. Do it. I dare you. $10,000 cash in your pocket if you go to the UK and make a joke about Muhammad having a 12-year-old wife.
This we got here faster than I thought we would. In this
I like how he knows
conversation.
all the
Where you're
anti-fucking
shouting at me about something I don't
Islam
understand.
jokes.
I don't really
I
understand.
don't think I can think of
how
a
you would think it's incumbent upon
anti-Christian
me.
Do you think
joke
anybody watching this right
off
now
the top
thinks
of my
you are
head
confused by the
that's
notion
like.
that in the UK you go to jail for
I mean, there's
mocking Islam?
jokes about shit.
I
the Bible,
don't
I
understand
know,
how we
but,
got
like-
onto you shouting at me about Islam specifically.
Apparently,
I'd
yeah.
like to return to a
Okay,
point I
it's
was trying
because
to make.
you
That
said
other guy
people
was
should go
here,
out
he'd
and
be like,
come to
"Yeah, I
this
think
country
Tim's got a
and
good
against
point
it."
here."
And
Maybe.
you said
I
you're a
don't know.
comedian, and you're a comedian, and
don't
you go
wanna
to other
put
countries,
words in
right?
his
And you said you
mouth,
go to the UK, and I said, okay, if you go to the UK, speak out in violation of their laws and see what happens. And you said, I'm confused, I don't understand. What don't you understand? Will you go to Turkey? Will you go to Turkey?
Confused
and
as to
speak out
why I
against Islam?
agreed to take this fucking podcast
mean,
interview. Holy shit!
If I have a joke to make sure, I don't have a joke about those particular topics.
You would.
I would.
You're saying if you had a joke about.
Oh yeah, sure.
All right,
I would-
Tim,
I would
tell us
try
your
to do the best I can. I always
hilarious
try to poke the
joke.
bear as much as I can. It's part of the job of a
There's
comedian.
nothing to
Because
about as it pertains to one of the world's largest religions. I mean, come on.
I mean, I haven't written a joke about that recently.
But does he do
so
jokes
look,
about other
hey, man,
religions? Like,
I'm a free speech guy, right? I think that something that's nice about America is that we're a country that has that value, and that we don't generally think that you should be tossed into a van and kicked out of the country for expressing an opinion. I think that it is a change. I think it's a change in America
Shut up, Tim.
to most people around the world to feel that, oh, wait, if I go to America and I express a mild opinion about their foreign policy in my own student paper, or maybe on a stage or maybe somewhere else, I could be, without any warning to me, accosted by 6 people on the street, thrown into a van, and taken out of the country.
Oh, come on,
right?
accosted.
Oh, let me finish.
Don't load the
I think
language.
that's a strain.
What?
I think that's a new idea
kidnapped.
for a lot of people that America is that type of country. I think that Donald Trump's purpose.
If we didn't know
is
they were
to
ICE, that
turn
video would
America
be
into
like-
that type of country.
Not that it's much
I think
better,
that's
but-
bad. I think it makes the country
Christ.
smaller. I think it makes the country worse. I think it's a violation of most of the values that I grew up with as an American.
Yeah.
And that's my view of what's happening in the country. Now, if you want to say, hey, I don't like free speech for
That was closer.
foreign nationals who are in the country who express mild opinions about other countries' foreign wars, then that's your
our-
prerogative. It's a big difference between us that
ours.
you don't like free speech in that way.
I mean, that's loaded language, right?
no, it's not.
Yeah, all the language you're using is pretty loaded.
Well, you keep using adjectives to describe things to diminish one thing while exacerbate or
You asshole using
Use the English language
adjectives.
to
What's
express
next? An
responses.
adverb?
Yeah, but it's too
This fucking
it's
guy.
straw manning. It's not
Christ.
it's not a legitimate attack of the ideas, right? So
He's fucking
accosted on the street.
short-circuiting.
Come on. She was arrested. She was arrested by a relatively large group of men compared to what a normal.
There's like
arrest would
6
require,
people
which I think they didn't
in
need to
all
do,
black
and was safe.
civilian
So you could
clothing
say
with
she
masks
was arrested
on.
by several men, unmarked, or plain clothes, which didn't need to happen. But I don't need to say like she was accosted by men on the street and like it was about a mild opinion. It's like, okay,
It
listen.
looked like a kidnapping,
case,
man.
Like I said,
Oh my.
I don't like the idea that people come to this country and then try and tell us how to do how to live our lives.
You're not for free speech. I understand.
I think American citizens have self-determination and sovereignty, and I will say this even of the Canadians who keep coming here and they keep getting involved in our politics. I'm friends with some of them, but I think it's fair to say that there is an issue with Canadians, largely conservatives, who come to this country and then start advocating for conservative values in a country they're not from.
So,
to be fair, there are liberal Canadians who do it too. I find it to be silly.
I
That being
think it's
said,
reasonable for
Canada
me
as
to
a
say
bordering nation,
Germany
largely overlapping
shouldn't
culture, is a
vote in
morally
the
different question,
AFD.
but still applies in much the same way principally. So I do.
You don't have
take
to
issue
live in a
with
country to have an
foreigners coming
opinion
nice
about
white
their
country, so we
politics.
like
Are you
it.
fucking
Canada's-
kidding me?
They call it what the most multicultural.
That's like
country
all of
in
what
the
foreign
world, I
policy
think.
is.
They big on immigration. I think Toronto is considered to be the most multicultural city in the world.
Yeah.
So Canada actually is. You can call it a nice white country. That's technically the truth, but it also is very, very much in favor of immigration and diversity and all these things. Largely, what many of the conservatives who come here are speaking out against. But without, you know.
So
I
this
do
is a
hear
country
you.
where if you're from another country and you're in America, don't say anything about our politics, or you could be forcibly removed from the country. You're comfortable with America being that kind of country.
Marginally.
That's something that's like that's
Well,
the value of yours. Those are your values.
Yeah, true. Now that
See, you're
Trump
doing it-
changed his
No, no,
tune.
I-
I'm
It was a
trying
value
to
of mine.
no, I'm trying
I'm
to
assessing-
I'm trying to
I'm-
understand what you actually believe.
Yeah, I'd say marginally, it's a good.
Because I think that's a point of distinction.
Should
It's like,
deport
it's
Tim
useful
Pool.
in a conversation
Should have a
like this to be
special
like,
clause
okay,
written
I have
into
my
law.
value, you have your value.
As if
and,
you
my
as
value is
stupid
like,
and
I really like
dense
it when
and
people say what
partisan
the fuck they think
hack.
about any country's politics.
Like
we can
Tim
simplify it.
Pool.
My value would
You
just
were-
be, to whatever mathematical degree, American
Yeah.
sovereignty supersedes the right of foreigners to.
No, we need something to
our
scare 'em.
policies.
But in this case,
That's
just my
man,
value.
in
We've
this,
concluded.
so you think that literally
Okay, this
any
is just-
time
this is,
America is exercising its
Tim Pool.
sovereignty.
What would
that's
he,
like a
what would
good
Tim
thing.
Pool be afraid of? We need 7 like super Arabic looking ICE agents to surround him somewhere where there's a security camera, and then just because that would scare Tim Pool. Most people would be like, okay, there's 7 people there. Tim Pool, he'd flip his shit. Yeah. Also, doesn't Tim live in Texas? How is he so
In
pale?
that particular case, like because
What does that mean?
like
You're a guest.
Oh.
Mark.
With all due respect, I think I've said it like 6-7 times.
Uh-huh.
You're a
He's
guest in our
trying to-
country. Adhere to the rules. That's it.
Tim,
That includes conservative Canadians, conservative Brits. That's Carl Benjamin. That's Paul Joseph Watson. That's Viva Fry. That's Seth Rogen. And it's also
Okay, so
Ramesa,
all
it's also
those
Mahmoud
people
Khalil.
should not speak about
Like,
American
really?
national interests, in, like the Suez Canal. We shouldn't
While
say,
here on a
the
temporary
Panama
visa.
Canal, or like,
While
is
here on a
Puerto Rico a
conditional
state or not?
visa.
They should not speak about American politics.
You can speak about what you want, but speech has consequences.
Tim Pool.
I mean,
Doesn't it?
okay, so
Beanie.
we can
So
move
it's
on.
not free
I'll say
speech,
to
you
me,
fucking
that's a
jackass.
radically different America than I thought I grew up in, and I think it's
Look,
fucked up that we're becoming that kind of country.
Because that's like not making fun of him for being bald. Just remember, this is what he looks like without a beanie.
It's really
believe you think
bad.
That's true.
Yeah, you don't believe I think that's true?
Well, I mean, I suppose I
Like
can
what
say-
I just said, I believe you're like, you don't believe that.
Well, because if we go back several administrations, that's not been the case ever.
What is this Russian website?
I mean, look
with
at
a photo
New
of Tim
York in
Pool?
the 2000s when the Bush administration rounded people
right.
up, and well, I'm sorry, it wasn't Bush during the Bush years, and they put 200 people in like a bus. They locked them in a bus cage.
Yeah, that was bad.
That's the country you grew up in. The idea that
and it
these
was
things
bad.
haven't been happening. George Carlin got arrested for swearing. We had
Yeah,
blasphemy
and it
laws
was
on the
bad.
book.
Yeah,
You
and it was
actually are
bad.
claiming-
And then we
Indeed,
said,
and you
oh, we
grew up
shouldn't
in
do that
nation,
anymore.
and it never changed. The idea that you think you grew up in a nation where you could say whatever you wanted is an absurdity. George Carlin
Okay.
went to jail for swearing.
And that
The
was good. you
fuck
think.
is
No,
this?
Because
wasn't.
you think it's good that Rumesa Ozturk is being
She's
forced to
not a
leave the country.
citizen.
Well,
So-
we've
on a
gone
conditional
down somewhere,
visa
I don't know.
As conditioned by the INA and the existing administration and the
No
will of the
wonder
voters.
he's
Okay, but
such
you're
a
arguing.
piece of
No, my
shit.
argument
You're
is
arguing that
you said the
Ozturk's
country-
Anyways,
statement
back to the
makes
real
sense
content.
because George Carlin was arrested for swearing.
No. You said I grew up in a country with free speech, and I said, no, you did not.
And
it's never been true.
And you're like, okay, yes, you're right. So under
How
your
is-
view, America is a country
How
that doesn't
has
have free
sucking
speech,
Trump's
never had free
fucking
speech,
shit
Yes!
and that's a good thing.
No.
because we're
made
exercising
Tim
our
Pool
sovereignty.
No.
Okay, but you
defend
think it's a good thing for
anti-free
me, so
speech
Ozturk doesn't
and
have
say
free speech?
Do
this
you
isn't a
understand the
country with free
distinction between
speech.
a non-citizen here on a conditional visa and an American citizen being arrested for swearing?
I understand that there's a
Very
distinction.
different
I don't
circumstances.
think that either of those people should be treated differently in that case.
Let me say this.
Yeah, I don't agree
This
with you,
country
man.
has never had free speech.
Okay, I
It's
think.
a fact. When the founding fathers finalized the
Do
Constitution,
you think we should have free speech?
yes, but there are limits on what free
says
speech is based
he's
on
just like
the
a
moral
fucking
worldview, the individual
grass in the
argument. For
wind.
instance, do you believe someone should be
He
allowed
just-
to direct someone to commit a violent crime?
That's
Yes or
not
no?
that's not the moral worldview of an argument. That is the effect of the speech. So you think
no,
that
hold on, hold
whether
on.
you have free speech should be your words should be based
I'm
on the
trying
moral
to-
worldview of the argument.
I saw like a
to
clip of this.
understand
Certain
your
arguments-
view
I was
of
like,
what free
okay,
speech
maybe it's
means,
just a
I'm asking you
bad
question.
clip.
If somebody
This is
says
all bad.
explicitly,
Like
you right now commit crime
This
to
is
that
bad.
person, is that free speech?
now, I have energy. I have
Someone
adrenaline.
says you right now commit crime to that person, and
Come on.
what do they
Come
do?
on.
It?
Yes.
And I'm playing the
I
most
mean, I guess I'm not a
entertaining
free
game
speech
ever.
scholar, but like that is yeah, there's probably be legal consequences for that free
It is
speech.
illegal to do that. Do you think someone should be able to
Oh
yell
my
fire
god!
at a crowd
Direct
theater?
incitement
I
of
mean, this
violence
is
is
a
a
canonical
crime.
example of
Oh my
speech
God.
that's not free speech. So
It actually is. That's Brandenburg v. Ohio. It is, in fact, legal speech. I don't think people should. I understand the Supreme Court's ruling on that issue. The challenge with free speech, let's go back to the beginning of this country. Blasphemy laws were on the books after they even had the First Amendment. Like they literally say you can't blaspheme. We would say that's not free speech, but how did you have a First Amendment if you arrested people for blaspheming? My point is, and this is an
They built the
anarchist philosophy.
Constitution to grow with the times. All right, they're like
The
we're a little
laws of the
too
country are dictated by those with power to
backwards
enforce it.
for
That's
half
why it
the
used
stuff
to be
we
illegal
actually
to put a pie on
want.
your windowsill, but
But
even
you
though it's
guys
still illegal,
will-
nobody arrests you for it. So free speech
Yes,
changed throughout the generations.
you have the
We
you have
never grew
the
up in an era-
opportunity to
we
enforce
never
or
had a
not
time in our lives
enforce.
where you had true free speech the way
If you could
the
just,
absolutists wanted.
he
to
has
do.
all
I'm
the
talking about
pieces.
the story that we tell about
But
ourselves as a country,
Just
man.
he's
I'm
using the
talking about
different
the-
elements
I'm talking
whenever
about
they
the
suit him,
values that
and if
we,
you put them
know,
together,
that we have collectively as people, and of course those are always changing a little bit, and people are trying to pull them in one direction or another.
Split in half.
I would have thought, that. Like, I don't know that much about you. I know you're very involved with Occupy and stuff like that and protest movements, which I think is cool work. I would have thought that, like, a student writing an op-ed about another country's war and her own institution's support for it, vis-a-vis our country's foreign policy, would be the kind of thing that you would think is a sort of free speech that we should value. That is the kind of free speech that I think I personally think like a lot of the idea of America is built upon. I think it's one of the good things about the country, that this is a country where you can come here and you can express your opinion mildly in the newspaper.
What happened at Kent State?
And it's
My point is,
I
there's
think
things
it was
we
bad,
wish
man.
America was, but I kind of feel like a non-citizen
But this
getting,
one you
getting
said you
deported.
think is good. You're not sitting here going, man, yeah,
She
that's
got
a bummer.
deported,
She got
dude. What are you
deported.
talking about? She didn't get shot in the face. A conditional visa was revoked. I'm
that
not
was
crying about
so
it. I don't care.
close.
I mean, I think she cares. I think
That's
her
too
family
fucking
cares. I
bad.
think the people of her university care. I think
Tim loves it.
like
Change the
It's
law,
a
man. This is a
Muslim
marginal issue
woman?
for a single person who
Tim
was in
Pool's
violation
like,
of the INA. It's enforced
yeah,
by a
fuck
government
yeah.
That was
This
elected
is
by a
his
popular
fucking
majority, or I
Frogen
should say by a
based
plurality.
moment. Jesus
but the
fucking
popular vote.
Christ.
So let me pull this up because this is what we were talking about
I
earlier.
need
This is
a Diet
RCP from
Coke.
April 22nd. Every age bracket, to be fair, 40-49 is a tie. But Real Clear Politics aggregate shows from all of the latest polls,
my God.
70 plus is the only age group that is a negative view of Trump's job.
okay. I'm just trying to.
This is a popular
What?
majority.
I'm just trying to make sense of your position around free speech, because you agree with me about all the past things in America that you're talking about. Kent State, you're talking about George Carlin and all these other things, and these were bad abrogations of free speech. And
Indeed, deportation is not a murder. You're going home. I'm giving you a ride home.
But you,
Well, if you came to my house, I let you in the door. I said, you can hang out tonight. And you started shit-talking my brother. I say, bro, I'm going to give you a ride home. I don't think you should be here. That's not an affront to someone's sovereignty or free speech. It's like the worst thing that happened to you is I gave you a ride home. Oh, I'm going to cry. She's going home. What's the problem? Home's
Holy
nice.
fucking
She was here
shit.
conditionally. We said, hey, we kind of think you're being a dick. We're going to give you a ride home. That's it.
I mean, when I get a ride,
Talk
home,
about not normatively
guy
loading
normally
things.
Shove me into a van, and then my family doesn't know where I am. That's
You know,
know.
how about you're at a bar and you're acting out in some way, and they
Did
say,
you-
listen,
do-
buddy,
do you feel-
security throws you out of the bar.
Do you feel this
gets
woman
you a
was
cab.
acting out? Do you think she was acting inappropriately? Do you think that she was acting?
I've already told you I did not.
Okay,
said-
so then how are you justifying what happened?
I don't
Is it legally narrow that it can happen? Therefore, it's good.
I don't
Your
think you know how to
position is incoherent.
separate. I just don't think you know how to comprehend the separation between I have no issue with a woman making her argument. I think it was absurd to claim she's adhering to Hamas because she's critical of Israel. But her visa is conditional. And it is the authority of these United States and the Secretary of State to revoke that. So it's okay. Right? Trump won the popular vote.
What? But
this is the
sorry,
agenda.
Man. Sorry, man. This is the hump that I can't get over.
Clearly.
You don't have any problem with what she actually did, right? But Trump
Marginally, I do, yeah.
Trump and Rubio had the narrow.
Marginally,
legal
these nuts,
ability
you
to
fucking
do it.
You're not
freak.
following.
Do you
You're not
agree
following.
with their
Jesus
decision
Christ.
to
I do not.
it?
I think there is a net negative to a degree that foreigners come to this country to dictate our politics. Be it Canadian, British.
Dictate.
Their politics or just
It's
give their opinion in the newspaper that they dictate?
opinion.
Let's. I'll talk on the language. To come here and advocate for policies of the American people.
So you feel that foreign nationals of all kinds, when they're in the United States, should
pissed
never speak
off,
about our
man.
politics ever, upon pain of legal punishment. That is a position that you have about America
Did
generally.
they agree to it?
I
When
don't.
they applied for the visa under the INA, did they agree to those terms?
I don't know.
The answer is yes, they did. It clearly states when you're coming
can
on a condition, you can't do certain things. It literally says you won't protest. And we still would allow them to hold a sign up or something. But maybe if they didn't, I'd
But
say,
apparently we don't allow them to hold a sign.
Yeah.
I'm not asking
Yeah,
what
that's
they
actually
agree to. I'm not
expressing an
asking what they
opinion
agree
against
to.
U.S.
Don't
foreign
agree with
policy.
anything.
Do
Damn.
you, Tim Pool, believe
Tim
that
Tool.
as a moral issue, as a
Grim Pool.
practical issue? Do you think that America should be a country in which every foreign national in the country
Wet
should
stool
feel that they
sample.
should never speak about American politics under pain of legal punishment?
no.
What else we
You
got?
don't think that that's.
Well,
you
that's
don't agree with
you
that.
you presented me an absolute, right? You gave me the extreme end.
Okay, so Rumesa Öztürk,
Foreign
I think,
nationals-
is a really illustrative example because it was
Foreign
such a
nationals should
mild
understand
version.
that they've made an agreement upon entering this country that if they are in
Infirm
violation of the terms of
infirm
their visa, they will
stool.
be revoked.
That's
If they
a.
come
I
here
mean,
with the
infirm
intent
is
of
a
advocating
long
against
ways
US foreign
away
policy,
from
that is a consequence.
Tim,
Speech has
but-
consequences. I think we're getting hung up on the issue that I've clearly answered, and I understand maybe you don't understand, but we can try
I
and
guess I think I've pinned you down well enough that like you just you just like really have a much smaller view of free speech than I do, and I think
I
a lot
don't
of
think-
Americans
I don't
do.
think
And
what you
it's
said means
I think
anything.
I think it's a change to the American spirit. I think it makes the country smaller.
not.
It's a shittier country to live in. Is a country where people live in fear of what they say when
they
they're
always
when they're
have,
here
and-
on a
and
student
they always
visa.
have.
Yeah, and that's
Shut the
bad.
fuck up.
So
Yeah.
bad to live in fear of saying shit.
This is not. You see, this is here's the issue. I suppose
Your whole
memory
your,
goes
your
back
whole
3
your whole
years.
bullshit culture baiting thing about the Islam stuff in England. If what you say is true, and it may be, I don't know because I don't really I don't really follow that as
You
as
would
do.
never
But I think
go-
it's bad.
you would
about that country.
You would never go to the UK. And,
Oh my
and do
God!
those
No, no.
Now look, I don't
Adam,
know of the
oh, you
politics
fucked up.
speak, okay?
You allowed him.
But
You're like, oh, I can get out of this one.
If I were to be in England and I were to make a joke on their stage and I were to be put into a van and removed from a country, I would say this is a bad thing about England, and I think that the country sucks, and I think that they should change it, and I don't think people should go there anymore, and that sucks for them and it sucks
Bro,
for
you
us.
wouldn't make a
And-
joke about Islam in the United States.
Bro. Shh.
You wouldn't.
Okay. Sure. What's that meant to prove?
You don't actually believe in free speech. You fear the consequences.
Because I don't make a joke about the topic
Freedom
that
of
you demand me to.
Because this topic,
Freedom
I
of
don't believe
speech
in
isn't
free
freedom
speech.
from
People like Charlie Hebdo
consequences.
getting murdered.
Just the
Yeah, that's bad. It's
And
bad
like
that they were murdered.
South Park tried just showing Muhammad, and Comedy Central wouldn't let him do it.
Yeah, that's bad.
So let's see
I
you
don't
stand
agree
up
with
for that
that.
value and come out and make a joke about
I
it.
did.
Stood up
That's-
about free speech plenty of times. What are
said
you
it's-
talking about?
Also, it's a private company saying
To the next level, brother.
don't do this
How
to
about we do
a
this?
show that they own.
believe in free
That's
speech?
Dude, this is what you do
fair.
when you've lost an argument.
So they know they're gonna like
Okay, you're not even arguing.
offend a lot of
You just
people.
jumped
brought it up.
to this.
private.
What'd you say?
It's different.
What did I? Oh, the Islam piece of it.
Oh.
No.
And now I'm continuing the conversation, and you're
Yeah.
derailing into you must have lost the argument.
No, because
Brother,
because
let's stand up for South Park, for Matt Stone and Trey
Yeah,
Parker.
I stand up for them.
So go on stage and show a big picture of Muhammad.
I'm sorry. What the thing that you're doing?
Stand up for free speech, brother. Do it.
So
I'll do it with you.
So you're demanding me to go on stage and
Prove
do
you
something
care about free
specific,
speech. Prove
and
you care
unless
about
I
free-
do, I'm a coward.
I'm saying,
Bro.
prove. I
This
didn't say you
this
were a
is a
coward.
this is a
I said,
bizarre
prove you care about
rhetorical
free
move.
speech.
This is a
I call you-
bizarre rhetorical.
I-
I
move.
didn't call you a
like-
coward.
I've
said
seen a
prove you care
lot
about
of
free
Tim
speech.
Pool.
Yeah, I
Do
prove
something that
And
creates
it's
real risk to
always
your person
bad.
for free speech.
Yeah,
This
I
is
speak about shit all the time,
fucking
dude. I'm happy to
insane.
live in America where the things I say don't create real risk to my person. In fact, if I were to say the things that you're saying, I would not be creating real risk to my person.
You don't think so?
I do not think so.
Then why not just do it? Prove me wrong.
Because I don't have anything in particular to say about those topics.
Just put a picture of
man.
Muhammad up and say praise be. I'm
Why?
wrong.
I'm really glad we got here again because it's just very fun to sit in how weird this part of the conversation is.
Remember Charlie Hebdo?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, a bunch of people were shot because they.
Put a picture of Muhammad.
Yeah, that's bad.
Do you think if you did that, they might want to shoot you too?
Yeah, maybe.
So you shouldn't do it.
I mean, I don't have it. Well, the particular images that they showed, I didn't think were like very funny. Like it
Comedy
was their
Central
right to
wouldn't
do
let
it.
South Park
but-
do it either.
I mean, it's
They
like
censored the whole thing.
Yeah, that's
What's the
bad.
joke,
That's
though?
bad, and I think that's contrary to American values.
Why won't the free speech people who believe we should live
No,
in this country
Adam should not give
stand up
that.
against that?
I'm sorry. I'm not standing up for free speech unless I do what exactly?
I didn't say the only way for you to stand up for free speech is to do something. I said,
yes,
why
you
would people
did.
who are
You
claiming
called me a hypocrite, and I don't understand what's hypocritical about me only doing jokes
hypocritical
about the topics that I'm
is
interested
that you
in.
would not go to the UK and speak in violation of their speech laws.
I mean, I went there.
hypocritical.
I made fun of their government. I talked about,
allowed.
the fire at Heathrow because that impacted my
have
travel when
hate-
I was
they have hate
there. I
speech
talked
laws.
about, yeah.
You can make fun of white people, but you can't make fun of non-white people. You go to jail for that.
Okay, yeah. I think that would,
Google
if
it. Could
it's as
you
say, that sounds
walk
like
me
a-
through
it's-
what the fuck
if
this
they're
is?
applying me as a comedian.
I would
I
not-
thought
would
this
say
was
that's
just a
bad law.
total
I would not
nothing
go to Turkey
burger.
and speak out against Islam, and I
Am
would not
I?
go to the UK and violate
Am I
their speech
right
laws.
in thinking it's just a total nothing
okay,
burger? Like,
so
what is the
are you-
actual
Are you a
shit
coward?
they're
What's
talking about
your
here?
point?
No, I actually agree with the sovereignty of nations, and if they have laws, I'm not going to violate them.
Oh, I see. I see the point that you're making. Okay, so when things are legal, they're just.
No.
Okay.
That's,
So then, what is
that's
your?
your argument is that foreigners should come here.
So one of your
face no
values is
consequences.
you should
God.
respect the sovereignty of other nations. But again, look,
Yeah, for
this is a
Should we invade
this
China?
is a recent change in the way that the U.S. prosecutes and selectively enforces the laws that are on the books.
Wait, you
And
respect
that's
the sovereignty of
what
just
happened
wait,
to
hold
Mr.
on, hold on,
Ostertag.
hold on,
And
hold
again,
on, hold on.
That's like a material change in like
I-
the spirit
I
and
will
values
say-
of America.
Just because I think we.
Can I
should
get Tim on the record saying he respects the sovereignty of nations?
I'm here.
So one of your
face no
one of your values is
consequences.
you should respect the sovereignty of other nations. What is
That's
your
all.
point?
Your argument is that foreigners should come here.
So one of your
face no
one of your values.
consequences.
Wait, fuck.
Oh, okay. So you're
Where was
so
this?
are you a coward? What's your point?
No, I actually agree with the sovereignty of nations, and if they have laws, I'm not going to
What
violate.
about Ukraine, you fucking fuck?
This
Okay,
is
sorry.
this is a recent change in the way that the U.S. prosecutes and
Sorry. That's all I
selectively
wanted
enforces
see,
the laws that are on the
do.
books, and that's what happened to Rumesa Öztürk. And again, that's like a material change in like
I
the spirit and
will
values
say-
of America.
Just because I think Yeah, I think we spent like an hour on the one subject.
Yeah,
we can.
I've been having a great time. Yeah,
I agree. It's been fun. I had a question. I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
In terms, you mentioned that Trump is, it's the makings of authoritarianism and things like that. Do you think that's distinct from any other administration?
The
Keep going.
degree.
Is the authoritarian push from the Trump administration? Obviously, there's going to be procedural distinctions, but I mean, like, were other administrations not also doing similar authoritarian maneuvers that were a gas?
Yeah, I mean, every single American administration could. I'm sure I can find things that I disagree with. Absolutely.
I think one of the challenges that we have in the United States right now is the people that largely support Trump and voted for him, particularly in his first term and largely carrying over in the second one, non-consecutive, had never voted before. We saw parts of the country that normally don't vote start turning red, start lighting up with new voters. I was at a rally for Trump in Fort Lauderdale, and most of the people that I met were like, I don't vote. I never voted before. So these were new voters, which were like poor, white, working class people. And so I think we end up seeing happen, especially right now, is
ultra rich elite.
For younger voters, it's interesting considering they are shifting to the right.
New York
but
real
they also
estate
have
fucker.
less memory of administrations past. For me, I voted for Obama. He was an evil man. And I didn't vote in 2016 because I said the system is corrupt. I've lived through, I was a teenager when the Gore v. Bush stuff happened.
Much as I can take of this. That's going to be stream for today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And yeah.